What is up, Squared Nation? Welcome back to No Counters, No Combos, and it's Tuesday, so we're talking some tech. Now, we are coming at you from the mobile command center here, but I kind of wanted to maybe I guess the right word is expand on a conversation I had this weekend on Facebook. So for the most part, Set 7 is no secret to anyone. Most, if not all of the cards have been revealed, and I was combing through, just the extra cards specifically, and also listening to the commentary that was provided to us for the Richmond Regional by Peter Gattani and Dusty from Kitchen Table Meta, and they kind of just brought up these new counters that we're getting in Set 7, which I'm going to just be referring to them as drop counters from now on. So I was having a lot of discussions with people, and obviously I did my ban list video over the weekend as to why Gogeta 7 wasn't hit, and I think this is the specific reason why is because they're trying this type of interaction. But I kind of wanted to expand further on my ideas behind these cards, and I just felt like I could bundle them all together and talk about them since they are the epitome of tech choices. So that's what we're going to be talking about today for Tech Talk. Now, specifically, obviously, we have all the 4 negates. There is a black counterplay that was printed, but it doesn't activate from the drop, so I excluded it from this video. But we could talk about that in a future video, of course. But I wanted to talk about these 4 specifically. So we have, for red, we have the Final Guardian. For yellow, we have Restrain. For green, we have For the Greater Good. And for blue, we have All Too Easy. Now, these cards are literally carbon copies of each other with different colors. They have no added effects like, the Sparking negates. Power Burst gets a 1-drop. Shocking Deathball KOs a 2-drop. After Image, does the whole plus and minus. And then Dimension Magic does the untap. These are not like that. These are specific negates or counter attacks that you can obviously play just like a normal counter attack. You can play it from your hand. But you have the added bonus if it's in your drop area. You can activate it from your drop area once per turn by paying its cost and then just removing it or sending it to the warp. I think it's just removing it from the game. So if you have one of these drop counters available, essentially you don't have to have a counter in your hand to stop the attack. So what this does against Gogeta is early on, obviously Gogeta has to get to turn 5. So, you have 4 turns to get one of these in your drop area so that you can negate Gogeta's attack. Now, yes, you are only getting it once per turn, so I can see, if they give Gogeta the ultimate from Shenron, he's going to swing at you 3 times. Yes, I do understand that, but it's better than nothing in my opinion. The issue with Gogeta was, he puts your hand size down to 3, and if you don't draw a counter off of it, you just essentially lose. At least this gives you the added protection of surviving one of those attacks. Now, most of the time, Gogeta Shenron is going to have that Gogeta 7 swing at you with critical too, so you want to be able to, just kind of survive that because you're not going to get advantage off of it. So if you have one of these counters, available to you in the drop area, it's gonna protect you from essentially dying. They'd have to make another play. If you're staying at 6 life, they'd have to obviously just going to push you in. But if you're staying at higher than 6, 7, or 8 life, which is definitely possible against Shenron Gogeta, it's definitely possible to stay that high because they're most likely not going to give you cards. But it's just another somewhat interaction with that card that has no interaction. So, in my opinion, these counters were made specifically for burst leaders. Now, I know we're not getting a lot of burst leaders in Set 7. I believe just the Gohan leader, if I'm not mistaken, is the only burst leader that we're getting. But we already have a lot of existing burst leaders. So, these cards help with those strategies. It doesn't feel good when you're playing a burst leader, which is probably one of the worst mechanics in the game. I definitely agree with Peter Gattani on that. Burst is one of the worst mechanics in the game. Just essentially you're losing cards out of your deck that you might need as combo pieces. Now, yes, there are some decks that benefit from bursting. The Super 17 chain comes to mind. It does benefit from having all of its pieces in the drop area because it can activate its Union Absorb from the drop, as well as the new Aandroidd 13 stuff. But not every deck needs a drop area. Yes, you can make the argument that you're facilitating Overwhelm or you're facilitating Sparking. You know, there's a lot of decks that require Sparking effects. You know, Height of Mastery is one of them. Any deck that uses Sparking is another. So I guess you can make the argument for both. But Burst has been around for a long time, if you think about it. It was just never labeled Burst. I mean, Mass Saiyan was a set 3 leader, and it has Burst 3, essentially. But, you know, I digress. That's a conversation for a different day. But I definitely like these new drop counters. I am going to be experimenting with them in Burst leaders specifically. But I think, you know, moving forward, we did have a little bit of a discussion about it on Facebook. I did make a post, and there was a lot of people in there, and I'm sorry if I'm forgetting your names. I would love to shout you out specifically, but there are a few people in there that were commenting about how, you know, I had the popular opinion that these would be staples moving forward, but, you know, after reading all the comments, it makes more sense that these could be like 2 gloves in certain decks, or maybe you can side deck them, you know, to have answers, you know, against decks that interact heavily with the drop area. You know, these are good against Janemba. Not that Janemba really is going to be threatening, you know, many attacks and stuff like that. You know, obviously they're just putting you on a clock, but, you know, if you want to survive a critical swing off of a Demon Sword or a Reality Bender, you'll have the counter in the drop area available for you to do that. So it's going to be interesting to see how these impact the meta. I definitely am experimenting with them. They definitely help support the set 6 and set 5 leaders that have bursts. But I just kind of wanted to put this video out there and just get my 2 cents out about what I think about these new counters moving forward. You know, 1-drop counters are never bad. It's always nice to have negates, you know, when you need them. Obviously, there are a lot of powerful counters in the game. You know, Whist Coercion is a set 1 counter that's still very, very powerful. Dimension Magic is very powerful. Nimbus probably becomes the best counterattack in the game moving forward, since there's no battering anymore, and Mafuba obviously gets very, very strong coming into set 7 now. So there's going to be a lot more defensive decks. People are anticipating a turn 4-5 meta, which I agree with to a certain extent, but in playtesting so far, you know, on Untap and stuff like that, I think we might be closing in on a more like turn 5, turn 6 meta. Now, excuse me, I could be completely wrong. I could be just, you know, that's just a stroke of luck that I've had where games have gone to 6 and 7 energy, but I think more realistically in the beginning it might be a little more aggressive, but as the sets start to flush out and people start to get comfortable with the new archetypes, I think you might see a turn 5, turn 6 meta. Now, don't quote me on that. You can either come back and comment on this video in 2 months' time and say you were right or you were wrong. I'm all for that. That's completely fine. It's just my opinion. But I definitely think we're moving forward to a slower meta. Without having access to Battering and Shigesh, I think, you know, yellow decks take a hit. The best yellow leader moving forward is still going to be Broly. I still think Broly is a very powerful leader, even though it lost a lot of its pieces. And I can confidently say that I think the Height of Mastery decks that rely on Wish leaders possibly either just completely die or they just get, you know, pushed down a few pegs. I don't think they're going to be as efficient. I think if you still want to keep the dream alive and play Path into Height into Victory Strike, I still think Broly is the way to go. So I just kind of wanted to share my thoughts on these drop counters. And let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about these new cards. Set 7 is right around the corner. It is introducing a lot of new additions to the game. I'm very happy with the design so far. I think Set 7 is going to be one of our most balanced sets that we've had to date. I think Bandai has finally got it. They know what they're doing, and they've obviously known for a while, but I think just they've refined everything, and I don't want to dare say perfected, but they're getting very, very close to balancing the game out in a way that we all want it balanced as players. Again, that's just my opinion. If you don't feel that way, then that's your opinion, and I respect that, and you're entitled to it. But I think Set 7 is going to be very, very balanced, and I think it's going to be very, very there's going to be a lot of a variety in the meta moving forward. So, like I said, let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for the support. We really do appreciate it here at No Counters, No Combos. Shout out to the team at Counter Club, Graham, Brian, Kevin, Nick, Giovanni, Enrique. Thank you guys so much. David, of course, for being awesome testing partners. And we will see you guys in the next video. Be there or be squared.